6 months after people. The 15th century fresco, The Last Supper, adorns a wall in the convent of Santa Maria delle Grazie in Milan, Italy. The painting depicts the last Passover dinner Jesus shared with his 12 apostles, when he announced one of them would betray him. The masterpiece doesn't merely illustrate food, it's actually painted with it. The famed artist Leonardo da Vinci used a combination of oil paint and egg tempera, a pigment mixed with egg yolk.
Traditional egg tempera uses egg yolk as the emulsion. We take a small amount of pigment and we would spread that on a palette, and then you take the yolk, and then we're going to add approximately the same amount of water. Then we mix that with the pigment. The lake red is one of the pigments that Leonardo used on the actual Last Supper painting. You can see if you get this mixed smoothly, you get a lovely red color.
The stickiness of the egg allowed the pigment to adhere to a surface. But there's a problem. Most frescoes are painted on wet plaster, so when it dries, the pigment becomes part of the wall. But Da Vinci opted to paint on dry plaster, which made the colors much less permanent. Adding to the problem, The Last Supper was painted on a north-facing wall.
Milano, of course, has the cold, wet winters where the rain and sleet and snow come down and lash the city from the Alps. The north-facing wall receives a great deal of moisture.
In fact, less than 5 years after its completion in 1498, The Last Supper had already begun to flake. By the 1990s, it had undergone nearly 6 different restorations, the last of which involved installing a dehumidifying system. Now, with that system off forever, how long will it take to finish off The Last Supper? "20 years without people has taken its toll on Da Vinci's masterpiece.
The Last Supper's had a more difficult history than almost any painting in the history of art. It's suffered one indignity after another.
In the time of humans, The Last Supper was damaged during food fights instigated by French troops who took over the convent during the Napoleonic Wars. During World War II, Allied bombs struck the convent, exposing the mural, which had only been protected by a flimsy tarp and sandbags. Now, The Last Supper is on its last legs. "60 years after people, The Last Supper has not lasted. Mold and dirt obscure any remaining traces of the masterpiece.